Hey, I'm sat outside in the sunshine with my lovely tomato plants that are amazingly, look, even producing fruit. I am quite impressed as I'd pretty much abandoned my whole garden, gone off, helped some friends out on their land, and come back to think that they were all dead. And then a couple of days of love and music and water, and they're looking pretty good again and actually starting to produce. So yeah, thank you, tomato gods. I'm very, very happy about that. But I thought I'd take a moment to just remind everybody who's watching this that every prepper out there, I think, should get some gardening skills under their belt before SHTF happens. I mean, if you're going to be looking long term for survival, unless there's been something that's completely annihilated the land and made it impossible to grow, then I think some seeds in your bug out bag would definitely be something to be considering, because who wants to be living on ration packs and squirrel meat forever? Because that would be pretty grim if you didn't have any carrots for the pot. So, what sort of seeds do you need to be looking at? I would definitely advise everyone who's looking at buying seeds and gardening from a prepping point of view to spend a little bit extra money and go organic. Obviously, I'm always going to advocate that, but heirloom and heritage seeds, they're sometimes called. So the heirloom seeds, heritage seeds, they are basically the oldest versions of things that haven't been muddled around with. I don't really know the science behind it, but I know that they are the ones for seed saving. You get the best crops with the seeds that you save from those. Different varieties of different modern seeds. I've kind of tried seed saving from in the past, and apparently they've not gone so well to the people I've given the seeds to. So it's heirloom seeds, heritage seeds that you definitely want to be getting. So one of my friends that I knew in a community for years said that you could only make the mistake gardening once a year because you only get one learning curve. So I kind of thought that was a little bit harsh, because I thought, well, you know what, if you mess up at the start of the year, then you can just plant a little bit late, but then you are kind of all out of sync. And this year I've planted my garden late because of moving and eviction. But it's really, really messed with my head. I don't know when anything's going on, when I need to start harvesting or anything. I am so used to having a routine and a rhythm with my gardening that this year I am definitely learning from my mistake and making sure that I plan everything when I think I should do, rather than months and months later. So that's one thing that I've learned. Living without water as well. Obviously now I'm just on collected rainwater. That's something a little bit more challenging. So before, if I'd got my own veg, then I could go out and water it whenever I wanted. Now I'm kind of dependent on sharing my own drinking water with my plants. So I think for next year, I am going to reduce the amount that I'm growing so that I don't have to give so much water away. I think years of living in communities, being out on my own, I'm kind of not really used to doing stuff on a one person scale anymore. So if you're used to a garden that could feed like 20, 30 people, scaling it down, I think I've probably got enough to feed about 3 or 4 people in my garden at the moment, but it has taken up a lot of water. So that is another thing that I'm learning from this year, is grow the food that you need. Normally I'd kind of say, yeah, it's good to have extra, but if you're rationing your drinking water to share with your plants, and if you've bugged out or if there's an SHTF sort of situation, then that is something to think about as well. So the sort of soil that you've got, if you're wanting plants, if you're using dry soil and you're using plants that need to have lots of water with them, then that should maybe take a lower priority than a plant that takes less water, for example. So that's something that I hadn't really thought about or considered before. But yeah, so gardening and prepping, I think it should go hand in hand. Everybody thinks about preppers as living in basements with giant stockpiles of baked beans, and I kind of see preppers as the people I know who live off grid, who are growing their own vegetables, who are being sustainable and raising their own animals. I think that is definitely the healthiest version and the future of prepping. So yeah, preppers get gardening, and Start planning your gardens for next year. This is the time. If you've got a back garden and you've been looking at it and thinking, should I sort it? This is the time to do it before it gets to the whole cold, hard frost of winter. Then get your garden sorted, get it dug over, and then when it gets to February, you'll be set. So yeah, get some greenhouses up as well, people. Get some polytunnels going, because then yeah, you can pretty much grow all year round. Get your earthworks in now if you've not got anything up, and get aiming to start gardening for next spring. It's all about prepping, so prep to get your garden going if you're not already there. And yeah, anybody who has got their garden going, tell me in the comments what sort of thing you've been doing. Peace and love.